November 2011. A law office in Des Moines, Iowa. Inside a locked drawer sits a lottery ticket worth $16.5 million. It has been there for almost a year. And the strange part is not that someone won. The strange part is that nobody will come to collect. The Iowa Lottery has tried everything to find the winner. Billboards, news segments, a legal deadline that is now days away. $16.5 million and the clock is running out. Any moment now, the money goes back to the state. Then, at the last minute, a lawyer appears. He represents a trust. The trust represents a company. The company is registered offshore in Belize. He is here to accept the prize on behalf of a client he says he cannot name. The lottery has one question, a simple one. Who bought the ticket? And the lawyer withdraws the claim. He walks away from $16.5 million rather than answer that question. Over the next 4 years, investigators will pull on that single thread. It will lead them across 5 states, to 7 winning tickets, to more than $2 million in prizes that were never supposed to be possible, to a piece of software that erased itself, and to a man who spent his entire career making sure a moment exactly like this could never happen. No mask, no gun, no one else in the room. So how does the person paid to protect the lottery quietly rob it 7 times in front of cameras that were watching the whole time? To answer that, you have to meet Eddie Tipton. For most of the 2000s, Eddie is exactly the kind of man you would want guarding a lottery. Quiet, competent, early to work. He is a computer programmer at the Multi-State Lottery Association, a nonprofit in Urbandale, Iowa that most Americans have never heard of and that quietly runs the machinery behind lotteries in 33 states. His job sounds boring, and that is the point. Eddie helps build and maintain the computers that pick the winning numbers. Powerball, Hot Lotto, games that pay out hundreds of millions of dollars. Every one of those draws depends on a machine producing a number no human being can predict. Eddie is one of a handful of people trusted to keep it that way. His coworkers like him. They will later describe a man who understood the systems better than almost anyone in the building. When something breaks, Eddie fixes it. When a new safeguard is needed, Eddie helps design it. He is not a suspect. He is the person you call when you are worried about suspects. In 2013, the organization makes it official. They promote him to Director of Information Security, the man in charge of protecting the lottery's computers from tampering. Here is the detail that matters. By the time they hand him that title, Eddie has already been tampering with those exact computers for 8 years. He is not the outsider the whole system was built to stop. He is the insider who helped build it. And while his colleagues work late to keep the games honest, Eddie is quietly building something of his own. A house, 4,800 square feet, 22 acres, a home movie theater, a gym, a pond, on a lottery security salary. Nobody asks how. Why would they? He is the security director. He is the last person anyone would suspect, because suspecting him would mean the whole system was rotten from the inside. That is the real trick, and it is not a technical one. Before Eddie writes a single line of code, he has already solved the hardest problem. He has made himself invisible. Not by hiding, by being trusted. And trust is the one security layer that no camera, no vault, and no alarm can protect. The people who ran the lottery believed their machine was almost impossible to beat. They were right. What they got wrong was who they were defending it against. Because to understand how Eddie beats a computer that is locked in a glass room, watched around the clock, and cut off from the internet, you first have to see how many walls stood in his way. And every single one of them, he had either built himself or knew by heart. The heart of the lottery is a single room. Inside the association's building in Iowa, there is a draw room. And inside that room sits the machine that decides who becomes a millionaire. It is not connected to the internet. It cannot be. A number generator that touches the outside world can be reached from the outside world. So this one is sealed off completely. Offline. Cut off. If you want to change what it does, you have to be standing in front of it. And standing in front of it is not easy. Count the walls. The first wall is the room itself. Glass. You can be seen from every angle. There is nowhere to crouch, nowhere to turn your back. The second wall is the rule of two. No one is supposed to be alone with the machine. It takes 2 authorized people to open the room, 2 sets of eyes on every action, so that no single person can ever be trusted with the number by themselves. The third wall is the camera. It runs around the clock. Every second inside that glass room is recorded, so that if a number is ever questioned, there is a tape to prove exactly what happened and who was there. The fourth wall is the code. The software that picks the numbers is examined and certified by an outside security firm. An independent lab signs off on it, line by line, and once it is approved, it is not supposed to change. If a single character is different from the approved version, that is evidence of tampering. The fifth wall is the strangest and the smartest. To make sure the numbers are truly random, the machine does not trust itself to invent randomness. Computers are bad at that, so it reaches for something no human can control. It takes a reading from a Geiger counter, measuring the tiny chaotic flickers of radiation in the air around it, and it feeds that noise into the algorithm as a seed. Radioactive decay is as close to pure chance as the physical world offers. You cannot predict it, you cannot fake it. Put it together, an offline machine, in a glass room, watched by a camera, guarded by 2 people, running certified code, seeded by radiation itself. For an outsider, this is a fortress. Every one of those walls is designed to stop a stranger from walking in and changing the odds. And that is the flaw. Not a crack in the glass, not a gap in the camera. The flaw is in the word stranger. Because every one of those defenses assumes the threat comes from outside. The glass keeps out intruders, the camera catches intruders, the 2-person rule stops one rogue employee from acting alone. The certified code stops a hacker from slipping something in from a distance. None of it is built for the man who wrote the software in the first place. The man with the keys, the man the outside lab sends its report to. The man who was allowed to be in that room because keeping the room safe is literally his job. The lottery spent years hardening every wall against the world outside. They never seriously asked what would happen if the danger was already inside, wearing a badge, holding a coffee, fixing the very machine he intended to break. But Eddie is not looking at the vault. He is not looking at the glass, or the camera, or the 2-person rule. He is looking at the one thing none of those walls actually protect: the code itself. Here is the problem Eddie has to solve. He can get into the room. He is allowed in the room. What he cannot do is stand at that machine and be seen changing it because the camera never blinks. So the first thing he does is teach it to blink. The camera records every second, but recording every second takes storage, and someone, at some point, decided the system could be set to capture less. Eddie has access to those settings. He changes the camera so that instead of recording continuously, it records 1 second out of every minute. To anyone reviewing the footage later, nothing looks wrong. The camera is on, the room is watched. There's just a 59-second gap, over and over, that no one is looking for. A minute is a long time when nobody is watching. The second problem is the code. It is certified. If he replaces it with something obviously different, the next audit finds it. So he does not replace it with something different. He replaces it with something almost identical. He writes a version of the software that matches the approved one line for line, except for a small addition buried inside. On any normal day, the machine behaves exactly as certified. The numbers are random. The Geiger counter feeds its radiation noise into the seed, chance stays chance, and everything checks out. But Eddie's addition is watching the calendar and the clock. On 3 specific dates a year, and only if that date falls on a Wednesday or a Saturday, and only after 8 in the evening, the code quietly steps aside. On those days, and only those days, it does not use the true random seed. It runs a second predictable path instead, one that narrows the winning numbers down to a small pool that Eddie can work out in advance. Every other day, the lottery is honest. That is what makes it so hard to catch. A rigged machine that testing can find is worthless. Eddie's machine passes every test because on the day of any test, it is telling the truth. It only lies on the nights he chooses. And then it cleans up after itself. The extra code is built to delete itself after it runs. It does its job, produces the numbers, and disappears, leaving the certified software sitting there, looking untouched. No trace on the machine, no fingerprint in the room, a camera that saw 1 second in 60. A number that looks as random as radiation. Eddie has taken a fortress and reduced it to a thumb drive. But solving the machine creates a new problem, and it is the one that will eventually destroy him. He knows the winning numbers. He cannot be the one to collect. Winning a lottery is a public act. Your face is on a check, your name is in the paper. Cameras, handshakes, a giant novelty check held up for the local news. Eddie has spent his whole career being invisible. The moment he walks up to claim a jackpot, he is the opposite of invisible. And he is the security director of the organization that runs the game. A man like that, holding a winning ticket, is not a lucky story. He is a confession. So the plan has a hole in the middle of it, shaped exactly like a person. Eddie can produce the numbers. He can buy the ticket. What he cannot do is stand in the light and say the words out loud. That is mine. For that, he needs someone else, someone he trusts, someone willing to walk into the spotlight, sign their name, smile for the camera, and never mention where the numbers really came from. He does not have to look far. He has a brother in Texas, a former judge. He has an old friend he has known for years. And that decision, the decision to let other people carry the tickets into the daylight, is the thread that ties Eddie to every jackpot he ever touched. It starts in Colorado in 2005. A jackpot hits. The winning numbers came off a machine Eddie helped build on one of his chosen nights. But the man who walks in to collect is not Eddie. It is his brother, Tommy, a former justice of the peace from a small town in Texas. Tommy signs, Tommy smiles, Tommy takes the money, and nothing about it looks like a lottery employee in Iowa quietly getting rich. Soon after, Eddie starts building his house. 4,800 square feet on 22 acres with a home theater and a gym and a pond. A security programmer's dream home, paid for by a game he was supposed to be protecting. Then he does it again. In 2007, a Wisconsin jackpot, close to $2 million, is claimed by a longtime friend. Over the next few years, the pattern quietly repeats. Colorado, Wisconsin, Kansas, Oklahoma. Different games, different states, different faces at the counter. Always someone Eddie knows, never Eddie. 7 winning tickets, more than $2 million. And to everyone watching the lottery from the outside, it looks like exactly what it is supposed to look like. Luck, spread thin across the map. Ordinary people in ordinary towns, getting lucky on ordinary nights. No break-in, no alarm, no sign that anything is wrong at all. It works because it is patient. Eddie does not empty the vault in one loud night. He takes a jackpot here, a jackpot there, small enough and far enough apart that no one draws a line between them. For 6 years, nobody draws that line. And then greed picks the wrong prize. In December 2010, a Hot Lotto ticket is bought in Iowa, at a convenience store on East 13th Street in Des Moines. The prize is enormous. $16.5 million. The single biggest number Eddie has ever touched. It is also his home state, the state where he works, the state where the lottery association he serves is headquartered. Every other jackpot happens somewhere else, cashed by someone with no obvious connection to him. This one is in his own backyard, and it is too big to hand to a brother or a friend and call it luck. A $16 million winner draws attention, questions, scrutiny. So Eddie tries to build a wall between himself and the money. Instead of a smiling neighbor, the ticket will be claimed through layers. A lawyer, a trust, a company registered offshore in Belize, designed so that no name ever has to be spoken out loud. The plan is to collect the biggest prize of all without a single human face attached to it. And that is the moment the whole thing turns. Because for 11 months, nobody claims the ticket at all. The clock ticks down toward the deadline. And that silence is what breaks everything open. Now change seats. Stop standing behind Eddie and stand behind the people whose job it is to pay that jackpot out. To them, this is not a heist. It is a puzzle that makes no sense. Someone in the world is holding a ticket worth $16.5 million, and they are running out the clock rather than come forward. That does not happen. People with winning tickets do not hide. They knock the door down. One of the people asking why is a young assistant attorney general in Iowa named Rob Sand. And the closer the deadline gets, the stranger it looks. At the last minute, the claim finally comes. Not a person, a lawyer representing a trust, representing that offshore company. He will accept the money on behalf of a client he says he cannot name. The lottery asks the only question that matters. Who bought this ticket? And the lawyer withdraws. He would rather give up $16.5 million than answer. For the investigators, that refusal is not the end of the trail. It is the beginning. Nobody walks away from that kind of money for nothing. Whoever bought that ticket is terrified of being seen. Which means being seen is exactly what will catch them. So they go looking for the one thing Eddie could not reach from inside his glass room. Not the lottery's camera. The store's camera. The convenience store where the ticket was bought had a security tape of its own. And they decide to show the world the man standing at the counter. So they release it. The store's own footage on the news across Iowa and beyond. A man at a counter buying tickets. And the tape does something Eddie's code never accounted for. It records his voice. People who know him hear it. The face, the build, the way he talks. Coworkers recognize the man who ran their own security. The person who bought the impossible ticket turns out to be the last person on Earth who should have been anywhere near it. The security director of the Lottery Association itself. For a prosecutor, that is almost too clean. A jury does not need to understand rootkits or random number generators or radiation seeds. They only need to understand one coincidence. The man whose job was to protect the lottery's numbers is the man who bought the winning ticket, and then hid from the money. And there is a second layer under that coincidence. Altering a certified offline machine was not something a lucky gambler could do. It took someone with access to the draw room, someone who understood the code, someone the system itself had already cleared. That list was very short. Eddie's name was on it. And now his face was on the tape. But a coincidence, however damning, is not proof that a machine was rigged. Eddie's code deleted itself. That was the entire point. On every machine he touched, the evidence erased itself the night it ran. 6 machines, 6 clean rooms, no file to find. Rob Sand keeps pulling anyway. He cross-references phone records. He ties the offshore claim back through the lawyer. He links the brother in Texas and the old friend to jackpots in state after state until the circle is tight around one man. But a tight circle is not a conviction. He still needs the thing that turns a suspicious pattern into a rigged draw. He needs a machine that remembered. He finds it in Wisconsin. The self-deleting code was supposed to leave nothing behind, but one of the number generators, the one behind that 2007 jackpot, had been pulled from service and kept instead of wiped. When investigators finally examine it, they find something that should not exist. Extra lines of code, added after an independent firm had already certified the machine as clean. Instructions that told the generator to stop being random on certain days of the year, and to produce numbers a certain man could work out in advance. 6 machines were wiped. 1 was enough. The software that erased its fingerprints everywhere else had left them in the one place Eddie could not reach back into and clean. In 2015, Eddie Tipton is arrested. He insists he is innocent, and he keeps insisting for more than 2 years. Then, in 2017, with the evidence stacking up across 5 states, he takes a deal. He pleads guilty, and as part of that deal, he sits down and explains, in his own words, exactly how he turned the most trusted machine in the building into a slot machine that paid out to people he knew. What he lays out is a scheme built on restraint. He never touched a machine he did not have to. He never let a prize grow so large that it demanded a spotlight. Until the Iowa jackpot, which is the one that undid him. 6 years of small, patient, faraway wins, laid out in a single afternoon. The arithmetic of his fall is almost quiet next to the crime. 7 tickets, 5 states, just over $2 million, spread across 6 years. He is sentenced to as much as 25 years in prison and ordered to pay every dollar back. $1.1 million to Colorado, $644,000 to Oklahoma, $391,000 to Wisconsin, and $30,000 to Kansas. His brother Tommy, the former judge who carried that first jackpot into the light, is sentenced to 75 days. The prosecutor does not dress it up. Rob Sand calls the depth of the deception hard to believe, and then puts it plainly. An insider who abuses that kind of trust should expect to see the inside of a cell. Now go back to that locked drawer, November 2011. A ticket worth $16.5 million, sitting in a lawyer's office that no one will claim. Everyone assumed the winner was hiding because of something on the outside. A tax problem, a bad divorce, a debt. The truth ran the other way. The winner was hiding because he was the game. Eddie Tipton spent his career being paid to guarantee one thing, that no human being on Earth could know a lottery number before it was drawn. And he was good at it. He built the walls. He sealed the room. He seeded the machine with radiation itself, the closest thing the physical world has to pure chance, something you cannot predict and cannot fake. And then, 3 nights a year, he predicted it. No mask, no gun, no stranger in the room. Just the man hired to protect the randomness, quietly deciding, on the nights of his choosing, that there would be no randomness at all. The lottery was never broken into from the outside. It was signed, certified, and robbed by the same hand.